Today, we are going to basically be unpacking all of the different features in Google Docs. If you're used to Microsoft Word, you'll see what's similar, you'll see what's different, but I'm going to go over all the basic features that you would typically use. And all of these topics, they are linked, and I'm going to teach you how to do that too. When you click on one of those links, it will take you to the slide. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Whoops, I lost my slide deck. There we go. Here is the URL or the link to the slide deck. And it is case sensitive, so make sure that if you type it in, and if Perry or NSU could put that in the slide deck, in the chat, I'd appreciate it. So it's capital W, capital C, Champs 2021. And before I forget, I should show you our website, because you can always find this slide deck. I just Google search. I just open a new tab and I put in WCCUSD Ed Tech. When you press that, it will populate the search results. And the very first one, it should say Google Sites. That is our website. And on the left side bar where it says WCCUSD Professional Learning, if you click on Champions of Google, not only will you find the slide deck, but you will find the videos of all of the sessions that we have done so far. So there are several ways, to get to these resources. So if you miss the URL, you can always find it on our website. All right. So first thing, I just want to give you a quick tour of the Google Docs screen when you first open one. And I'm going to start with the far left over here. So the first thing, and it will be the first thing that I show you after creating a new document, opening and creating a new document, is where the title is. That is the first thing you need to do, is title that document. And then you can select a file location. Then you have all of your options menus. So just like in a Microsoft Word, what you've been used to in a word processing document, all the different formatting and inserting images, everything is found there. And in Google, everything is found in multiple places. So the bar underneath that has shortcuts, or what I call quick access buttons, to the most commonly used tools that you would find in those options menu. At the top right, you will find collaboration tools. So we'll be going over how you would share your document with others and different permissions. So some of the quick access buttons I've labeled here for you, and some of them I'm going to go over in more detail. But anything that you need to undo, redo, to print, or spell check, they've got quick access buttons on the left. And then we move into the formatting of your text, from bold to underline to adding color and highlighting. Then after that, we have some inserting options, and then making use of space. So formatting, paragraphs, numbering. That's the breakdown of that toolbar. And again, we'll go into more depth a little later. At the bottom right, and I will be using this, is it's an Explore button. And in Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets, you will find that little, it looks like a little speech bubble, but it has like a diamond shape in it. That is so that you can search Google without having to open a browser. And we'll definitely have some fun with that. Okay, so moving on. That's our quick tour that we will review and break down. Oops, how did I get back there? All right, now I get to use my little shortcuts. Okay, so first of all, how do we create a new file? Well, like anything in Google, there are two or three, and sometimes more ways to do it. So there are 3 ways. And the first one, you can just start from your Google Drive. When we went over Google Drive, I even gave you that as my tip, that, that's where I organize my documents anyway. So I just start from whatever file or folder that the document's going to live in, and I create a new doc right in Drive. You can also open it from the waffle menu on Google Apps. And that waffle menu actually takes you to the third place, which is docs.google.com. I typically don't use that. Like I said, I typically start from Google Drive, or I'll start from the Google Apps menu. So the first thing that you're going to see me do once I jump into Docs is I'm going to title that file, because in the event I accidentally close it, I want to be able to find it right away. And not only that, if I want to share it with other people, it needs to have a title. So first things first, you create a title on your document. And then the next thing that I would do is I would do some basic page setup. I would decide if I'd want my page to be in landscape or in portrait, if I want the color of the document to be different, and how I want my margins set up. So I'm going to show you all of that. I'm going to jump out in a second. And then if you want any headers or footers or things like that, these are just page numbers. These are just the initial considerations that I do before I share or collaborate with anyone else. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip to that sharing slide, but now I'm going to jump out and show you how I would accomplish those things. So first of all, I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And I'm going to click New. And here is where I can select Google Docs. And I can start from a blank document or from some templates. And I'll show you from just an open brand new tab. It's just going to take me to a slightly different place. I'm going to click on the waffle, and I can click on Docs. How you choose between the two really depends on, do you know where you're going to organize it in your Google Drive? If you do, start from Google Drive, go right there. If you're not sure and you're going to organize it later, then maybe just go and open up from the apps menu like I just did, open up a Google Doc. There are templates, there is a gallery that you can select from. I'm just going to select a blank document. And as I said, the first step that you want to do, number one, is to title that document. So in the left-hand corner here, it says Untitled Document. I click on it. As soon as text is highlighted in blue, that means when you start typing, whatever is there is going to be deleted. So just kind of look out for that. I've accidentally, deleted whole paragraphs. Go ahead and just type, I'm just going to name this practice doc, done. Press enter, and you'll notice now next to it, as soon as I titled it, it placed it in my Drive. Until you title it, it's just like floating in space. You could type a whole page, and if you have not titled it, it probably is not in your Drive. So right now, this is saying that it is in my Drive, it's saved, changes are being saved, and now I can select where I want it to live in my folder. I could do that now, or I can do it later. Now, if it's something that I want to make sure I can find easily in my Drive, I can put a star next to it. And that way in my Google Drive, I can filter it because it's a favorite document. So those are just some basic nuts and bolts. So I've created my title. The next step for me is to format that document. So I'm going to scroll down, and these are just the page options. So I scroll down to page setup. Now, I'm going to keep it on portrait for now, but I could select landscape if I wanted to, and I can set these changes that I'm making as default. So the next time I open a Google Doc, it will lay out in the same way, but I'm going to keep it as portrait. It's my standard orientation. You can change your paper size. I have changed my margins. Usually the default is 1/2 inch to 1 inch. I usually, I want as much space as possible. So I have to admit, I've changed my margins to be smaller than usual. Now, the cool thing I love is that you can also change your page color. So if I wanted to select, a violet or a pink, I can select that. And it's beautiful. I love it. So again, number 1, title. Number 2, page setup. Click File. Scroll down. It's at the very bottom, right above print. Click Page Setup. Make sure that after you have any changes here, that you click OK. I should point out too that you have options. So if I had text in here and I highlighted that text, I could apply page setup. Like if I had set up page breaks, then I could apply different settings to different portions of the document. For now, I'm just going to keep it at a whole document. All right, so now I've got my title. I set up the page. Let's see, I think I also put in, if you wanted to put in headers or footers, you could do that as well. So for that, you would click Insert, go down to Headers, and they're just giving you a shortcut. So you have to click Header, and then once you click Header, it will give you the options to put in, whatever you want. And you could have it different on different pages. Personally, I don't use, since I've been in grad school, I have not used headers and footers so much. But just so you know that you have that option. Also, if you wanted to page number, when you select page number, another menu will come up. And you can select where you want those page numbers to display. And also, if you click more options, you can decide what page, what number to start at, whether or not to show on the first page. So those are some basic options that you would start out with, perhaps before you share with others to collaborate. All right, are there any questions, Enes or Perry, about creating a file, titling a file, or the page setup?
I think we're good.
We're good? All right, thank you. So now we're going to go into sharing. And this screen has a bunch of stuff on it. This is probably one of the topics that you've been most interested in. So I did give you that tip after. So after you've named your doc, you've applied your format changes, you're ready to share. And the share tools are in the upper right-hand corner of the doc window. You just want to look for, and it's blue, that blue highlighted word share. And then you have some options. So you can share with specific people. And if they're within WCCUSD, as soon as you enter their name, it will populate their email address for you. So that's really helpful. As soon as you select one person, you have the option to decide, do they have permission to view? Can they comment? Or can they directly edit? Commenting and editing are completely different permissions. Commenting, they cannot change what you've put, but they can add sidebar notes for you to comment back, so you can have just a sidebar conversation. And the same thing, whoops, let me go back, with the last option for sharing, which is with large groups. For example, I can select all of West Contra Costa Unified School District to access my document. That doesn't mean they're all going to get notified or even know that it exists. That just means that if I share the link, anyone in the district will automatically be able to open it. You can also select anyone with the link, and if that would be something you would use if you are sharing with just the general public. Maybe you're working with our communities, then you would want to use anyone with the link. And again, you have to designate, are they going to view the document? Do you want them to have the ability to comment? Do you want them to have the ability to edit? All right, so let's go ahead and see that live. Here's the share button in the upper right-hand corner. And the little icons next to it, those are other collaboration tools. So for example, if I allow someone to comment on this document, I can click on that little speech bubble and it will show me all of the comments that folks have made. This little arrow will let me know how many people have viewed that file, which is kind of helpful if you share something with parents or colleagues or someone else and you want to know if they actually opened it. So I'm going to click share. And the first option is to designate specific people. So I'll just go ahead and put in Lori Roberts, and you can see that her email address comes up. I'll go ahead and put in, whoops, Ennis. I'll go ahead and put Perry, and I'm doing this just in case I need to demonstrate something and I need them to collaborate with me. You'll notice that this is marked notify people. They're not going to know that you've shared it with them unless they get an email message about it. You can, I think the most efficient way is to do it directly from this screen. So right now I can send them a message that says, here is a practice doc I'm sharing with you. And you'll notice that currently they're editors. Here's where I change them to commenters or viewers. I'm going to keep them on editors. And if I click send, they will get a notification in their email that I have shared that with them. If I do not take that step, then I'm going to have to go to my Gmail and let them know that way. I'm going to go back to share. So in addition with sharing to specific people, I can also go down and share with the large groups. So right now it's restricted. It's only these 3 people I've shared with, but I'm going to change it to West Contra Costa Unified School District. As soon as I do that, I get a link that I would copy. That's because I can't send out an email to everyone in the school district notifying them, hey, I made this doc and every single one of you can get into it. So I need to share that link with specific folks or paste it in places where my audience can access it. For example, in my Zoom chat or my Google Meet chat. Now, if I am working with a public group of people and I need anyone to be able to access that link, you click the little caret next to West Contra Costa Unified School District, and then you can select anyone with the link. And again, I have to share that link or place it somewhere where those folks can access it. Make sure that you have designated the proper permissions. Are you going to have folks edit? Do you want them to comment, or do you want them to view? So I'm going to go ahead and leave that back to West Contra Costa Unified School District. I'm going to say that folks can comment on it because I want feedback. And then I'm going to click done. By the way, when you click copy link, it automatically copies and it gives you a little note, link copied. And that's when I can go back into, say, Zoom, or I could go back into Meet and I could paste that in the chat and share that out. Okay, so those are the basics of sharing. And those are the 3 things that the 3 things I typically take care of at the very beginning before I even type out my text is naming it, setting up the page, sharing it, because sometimes I forget the share settings as well. You know, I've got this beautiful document made, I'm intending to share it, but then maybe I didn't put that I want people to edit it. I kept them on view. So I might even share the link, but then I didn't even give people the right permissions. So I like to get those nuts and bolts out of the way first. All right, so now we're going to start getting into the other features that help you format your document in a way that makes sense for the information you're presenting. And one of the first tools is section and page breaks. And to be perfectly honest, I don't use this very much, but it's important to know about. It's in the insert menu at the top of the Google Doc. So when you click insert and you scroll down about halfway, you'll see page break. And then you also have a section break. So that would be a new section, but on the same page. And that would be a continuous section page break. Let's see what is next. Formatting text. So we'll probably spend a lot of time on this one. And if you work with students as a paraprofessional, I remember, teaching students how to use these tools is super important. As early as 3rd and 4th grade, students should be able to know how to format text in their documents. And it also just makes it so much more fun for them. It makes us feel like designers and we have some creativity, because how people view our text, what type of text we use, what color it's in, whether or not we highlight, it's how we make information accessible to the viewers. So the 2 places where you can find your text formatting options are, number 1, the quick access buttons. Whoops, Google has already decided what those are. So for example, the type of font, the size of the font, whether or not it's going to be bold, italics, underlined, the color, and whether or not we want it highlighted. Then we have how we're justifying the text. Is everything going to be aligned along the left, centered, to the right? Do you want everything single space, or do folks need to see it double space? And then tabs. So again, Google has selected those as your quick access buttons, but there are more options when you actually click on the word format in the menu. So you will see that there are little arrows for menus next to each of those options. Some of them have more features than what you might get when you click on the quick access button. All right, so let me jump out from there and go into my practice doc. So again, if I wanted to put in a page break, I would go ahead and insert that. Again, personally, I don't use page breaks or section breaks a lot. I'm not going to include one now, but if you wanted to use one, that's where you go to do that. I'm going to spend more time on text. Now, if you're someone that likes a hierarchy in your font for, say, titles and subtitles, then you could use this drop-down menu. You can see they've already pre-selected some hierarchy formatting and sizes. Again, I don't use this too much, but if you're one of our clerical staff, this might be helpful for you. Typically, I use all of the other features. What's kind of neat about choosing the font, so Google has already pre-selected many for me, but I can also click on more fonts, and then I can have even more. And so right now I'm showing all fonts. I have them sorted by popularity. I can search through and select even more to add to my vast collection of fonts. So I'll click OK on that. Typically the default is Arial. I never use Arial. There are so many more interesting fonts that one can use. And here's where you can change your size. You can also type in, sometimes I need to use a custom font. So maybe 16 doesn't fit and 15 is a little small. I can type in 15.5 and it will give me 15.5. Go. And I'm going to go ahead and make that. I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. You don't even have to scroll down. There we go. I can click to make it bold, italics, underlined. I can change the colors and I can even create custom colors if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and just choose a different color. And if I need to highlight it, the little highlighting marker next to the A is where I would select whatever color I want for the highlight. Done. Important to note when you're working with students, if you are going to show them how to use highlighting and change the text color and change the font, make sure that you've allotted time for that, because it's definitely, they're going to want to play. It's like any manipulative you give a kid, you give them something that has a intent for educational purpose, but they're going to have more fun playing with that than typing probably and responding to the writing prompt that they should be doing. So some time for a creative fun that doesn't detract from the purpose of why they're using the doc. All right, justifying. So here I can select, if I want to center it. Whoops, I need to make sure to highlight the text first. And then here I'm going to go ahead and center it. If I have extra text, so line spacing, and let me unitalicize that. So here I can drop down and I can decide if I want this text to be double spaced or, single and a half. You can add spaces below and above your paragraphs. You can even have custom spacing. I'll go ahead and keep that double. All right, and then I think the last thing is tabs. So when you are typing and you're creating paragraphs, or if you're using bullets and you want to change the indents, those are your tabs. Decrease or increase your indents for your paragraphs. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in a paragraph, and I said that I was going to show you the Explore button, and I will need a paragraph at some point. So at first I was going to just type one out or find something from some of my old student work, but then I thought, no, I'll show them what I can do with Explore, which is called plagiarize. And we need to be aware of this as well. Not all of our students know that Explore exists. Our older students do. Explore is an instant Google search. So it says search your documents and the web. I'm going to put in, let's see. Let's put in hummingbirds because I've been seeing them around lately. Enter. So you can see right now, this just did a Google search for me. It already pulled up a blurb from Wikipedia. If I wanted to, I could pull in an image, and I'll be showing you that a little bit later. I can also search my Google Drive to see if I've got some text that includes the word hummingbird. So I'm going to click here because I just want to highlight this text. Okay, there we go. I've just highlighted it. I'm copying it. And now I'm going to paste it. Wow, the fastest paragraph I've ever written. We really need to be aware of students' use of this type of tool. Really just, yeah, it is a tool for them, but we always want to reinforce that summarizing and paraphrasing is what you want to do with that. But that's how easy it is to plagiarize right within a Google Doc. All right, so I've got a little chunk of text here, and if I wanted to indent it, let me close Explore. I just click that, and it has changed. Whoops. And let's see. Is there anything else I want to do with that? Oh, I could change, whoops, I can change my spacing here. I'm not doing a good job clicking around. There we go. Instead of double, I could do single. All right, let me go back to the slide deck. Are there any questions on font, on any of the size, the spacing, any of those tools that I just showed, or anything that needs to be reviewed? Perry or Ennis, did anything come up in the chat?
I think there's somebody who would like you to show the paste again of the from the Explore.
Okay, great. So I'm going to open up Explore. And and it says I wrote about hummingbirds. That's funny. I stole some writing about hummingbirds. So let me put in sloth. One of my friends is in Costa Rica. She's not a teacher. Okay, so here we go. Here's my paragraph from Wikipedia on sloths. I'm going to highlight the text. And by the way, I use a mouse. I live by my mouse. So I'm going to highlight that. And to copy, I can either right click on my mouse and select copy, or I can press on my keyboard Control C for copy. I usually, and there's the shortcut, it tells you right there. I usually just right click on my mouse, copy. And then to paste it, again, I'm going to right click on my mouse and you'll see the word paste. The shortcut for that is V. Okay, Control V. So I'm going to just click paste and there we go. Now you'll notice it's highlighted and that's because this text is white. If I wanted it to, not have that white highlight, I would select the option that says paste without formatting. Oh, it didn't work. That's interesting. Usually it does work. Okay, so that's not working for me. But if you are copying and pasting text that has some sort of formatting to it, I typically choose paste without formatting, and then I don't have a problem. So maybe for some reason, well, it's making me manually, I'd have to go back in, select no highlight color, and then, yeah, it would just match the rest of my page or the rest of the text that I would have. Okay, yes.
One more, Darcy, are you going to
Yeah.
go over bulleting at all? Or?
Yes, yep, I'm going to go over bulleting and lists. I'm going to go right back to the slide deck. Yep, and now I've got some text I can bullet too. All right. So the next feature I'm going to go over, and it's going to be in line with the bulleting and the numbering, are columns. Sometimes, columns are really helpful if you're coming up with, if you're a paraprofessional and you're coming up with word lists for students. Just listing everything that you want and then breaking it up in the columns is really something that you might use a lot. And you go into the format menu, select columns, and when you click on it, you'll see some different options. I've used this frequently. Let's go ahead and move on to numbers and bullets. So also in format, you will find underneath columns, bullets and numbering, and then you would select whichever option you're going to use. I believe you have a few more. When you click on the caret here, well, we'll have to test it out. It might be exactly the same as the short quick access icons. So there are two places. You can just use the quick access. That's what I use. But it's also in that formatting menu. And let's see if there's something else. Nope, inserting images. So now I'm going to go in and separate something into columns and then numbers and bullets. I don't know how this is going to work with the columns. Let's see. So I'm going to click on, let me close out Explore. Columns are not included in my quick access buttons, by the way. So that's why on that slide, I only have it in format. So I'm going down to columns. Let's say I want this information split into 3 different columns, and there are some more options, but let's just say 3. There we go. I've got my 3 items set up. Now I'm going to click undo. And now I'm going to select bullets, and I've got different options for the layouts here. Let's see if when I click on format bullets, no, it's pretty much the same options. So I'll just go ahead and click on that. You don't have to have text, to select it. Sometimes I like to have the text first, because then I can go through like I just did and delete any extra bullets from the spaces. But it doesn't matter. Either way, I can begin a new just set without bullets anywhere I want. So I could decide right after here that I want my text bulleted, click that, it creates the bullet for me. And the same thing with numbering. I could decide wherever I want that I'd like to start a list, and it will begin my numbering. And there's different formats for the numbering that you can select as well. All right, are there any questions about inserting bullets, numbers, or columns? Nope, okay. So now we're going to go into inserting images. And like I showed you in Explore. This is super fun because now I've shown you the shortcut so that, you know, with students, they don't have to be toggling between Google Chrome and their document and copying and pasting back and forth. I'm going to show you how using Explore, they can literally just drag in a picture, but they also can use the insert image option. So if they have saved pictures on their computer, they can upload from that. You can search the web. You can search your Google Drive. You can search photos. If you have a website where you have found an image that you like, you can insert that link. And you can also just use your camera to take a picture of something. So let's go ahead and play with that. And again, there's two ways to insert the images. You can use the quick access button, or you can go to insert image. I usually just use a quick access button. My tip for you, because Google Docs is a little tricky with formatting. My tip for you is to press enter. So you've got your text, or you don't have text yet, but you want to put in a picture, press enter several times. Create a bubble of space around the image. And that's because sometimes Google Docs, formatting the picture around text can be a little tricky. So I like to create some space above it and below it in case I want to add text above or add text below it. So just keep that in mind before you insert your image. I'm going to escape. Let's go to our practice doc. All right, so I'm going to create some space here. So even though I'm at the end of this line, I'm not going to click insert image. It'll throw off the text. I don't know exactly what it's going to do. I'm going to give myself some space here. So I pressed enter several times. I'm going to use the quick access button here to insert an image. And I'm going to click search the web. It's going to pull up pretty much essentially the same thing as Explore. So I can search for images. Kittens on the brain. So kittens. All I do is click on the picture. Oh, I love this one. Press insert. That's it. Click, it selects it, press insert. And then by clicking on the image, you can resize it. And you'll see that when I resized it and I clicked on it, that blue border appears. You always want to drag from the corner. And again, if you're a paraprofessional working with students, students typically will go side to side, call that the stretcher, or they will make it super skinny. They will stretch it from top to bottom. It's usually not their first instinct to drag from the corner. So if they're formatting images and they want to keep it in the right proportion, you want to drag from the corners. And if you want to spin the image a little bit, you use the little circle that appears at the top center formatting box, and you can spin your image around. I think, yeah, I moved it. There we go. So you've got some formatting options. Now, down here, the placement. Where do you want this image to be placed? Do you want it on the left side? Do you want it in line with your text? So it's called text wrapping. Do you want a text break? And here are your different, you have a bunch of different image options. You can also add recoloring, so I can add different tints. I don't want to get too much in the weeds with this, but there are different adjustments you can make. So if you include a picture of something that you take with your camera and it's not bright enough, you can actually increase the brightness of the image. It's not letting me do that here because that's an image I pulled in from Google. But you do have some other options. So if I use Explore, it's the same thing. I can search, can put in puppies, but I want to select images. So it's just a slightly different process. I click on that image, I press insert, And again, to format, I click on it to select. The blue borders come up. I drag from the corner to resize. And then I can decide where, or if I want it to move with the text or where I want it to be placed in relation to my text. Okay, now if I use my camera, and I don't think I should try to do that right now, it's not going to work because I'm using it with Zoom. So I could again go to, whoops, I need to go off of that. My image, insert image, and then if I select camera, then I can take a picture of something, and our students with their tablets can take a picture of something right in front of them and insert it. Okay. Let's go back. Because I do want to make sure I get to inserting links, and that's next, because that's probably even more used than inserting images. And a lot of times I get questions about how do you insert that link so people don't see the address, like the table of contents that Lori and I use for our slide decks. You don't see the link, you see the text that we want you to see, so you know what's there. Then when you click on it, it automatically directs you to where you need to go. It's just like inserting an image in that there's a quick button. It's right next to, pretty much right next to where you insert an image. It's also found in the insert link menu. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of that. And I've got some text here that I can play with. So if I wanted to insert a link about sloths, and I've already got some text written here, I'm going to highlight that text. So there are a couple ways to include links. I'm going to show including links for text that you've already got. I'm going to highlight the word sloths. Now, I don't have a link at the moment for sloths. I'm going to press insert link. So I can search, and look what comes up. Google has already found some websites for me that perhaps I might want to link. So I'm going to put in, what is a sloth? And look, Wikipedia came up. This other one, Slothville, came up. I'm just going to put the Wikipedia article. When I click on the word sloth, there is the website that it is going to take me to. Now I can change the text by clicking edit. I can change the website. I can change the text. So just to see what happens, I'm going to click on that little image of the website, and look, it's opening up the website to sloths. Okay. Now, the other way to go about doing this, actually, I'm going to reopen that sloth website. If you have a link that you want to add, okay, so I've got my link. I'm going to copy it. And again, you can right click and press copy or press Control-C. I'm going to go back into my document. And here's my website, and I'm going to make it bigger so you can see it. As soon as I have a website and I press enter, it automatically links it. But when you're adding a bunch of websites to a document, especially if they're really long websites, it just looks messy. So what I do is I can click on the link and press the pencil, or I can click on link, and where it says text, I'm going to change it to read this article to learn about sloths. Done. Now, when you link text, it changes the color of it. So if this was originally, it's hard to see because this was already blue text. But for example, if I had decided that this page was going to be in black text, as soon as I add a URL or link something, the default color it changes to is typically blue. And that alerts your reader that you've linked something there. And it also underlines it. because otherwise folks aren't going to know that you've inserted that link. So Google has already done that step for you. If you link text, it's going to change the color and it will underline it as an indicator to your reader. All right. Okay, so let's see if there are any other questions. And what I just demonstrated to you, even though, yes, we are recording this session and there's a video you can go back and watch, I also included a separate YouTube video on the next slide that talks about that will walk you through those two different methods for inserting links. So we've got a couple more minutes before we have practice time and breakout rooms. And I've gone over a lot and there's a lot to practice and play with. But does anyone need for me, or would you like for me to go back and demonstrate inserting pictures or inserting links?
Yeah, there was one question about someone who wanted to know where to press insert. So maybe you could show that again.
Sure. Okay, let me move my little bar here. So up at the top left, the full menu options, each of these topics is going to give you all of the options that you have. So insert, and I scroll down and I will find either images, or much further down, and on my screen, the little Zoom tutorial thing is in the way, but down at the bottom, you'll find where it says insert link. And there's also a shortcut for that. So you can press Control K. So for example, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to highlight this. And on my keyboard, I'm going to press Control K. And automatically it brings up the link, the insert link options. It's also here with this link icon on your quick access bar.
And Darcy, there's another question about if you can insert a picture from a camera.
Yes, I will try it. I don't know if it's going to work with Zoom though, but yes, you can insert a picture. If you are, I should specify, so I can insert pictures that I've taken on my cell phone by emailing myself. You can use Google Docs from your phone. I think it's, for me, it's too much. I need the computer screen to do it. So if I've taken pictures on a different device, I email them to myself, I download them, and then I can upload. So let me show that and then I'll try the camera. So I'm going to insert an image and I'm going to upload one from my computer that, say, for example, I took on my cell phone. I wish I had taken this picture on my cell phone. So here's a picture. I'm going to click open. So there is that picture. Beautiful. Now I'm going to try to use the camera, but I don't think it's going to work. Insert. So let me go from here. Insert, image, camera. Yeah, I'm going to say allow, but I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, it's saying no camera selected, and that's because I'm using it with Zoom. But if you're not on a Zoom, then, if a student is not on a Zoom with you, they will be able to select that camera and insert an image of whatever they like, of themselves, of something that they made. And it's that easy. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to go over before we go into breakout rooms and maybe a little more question and answer time is how to search within a document. And this is super helpful if you've got many, many pages. So the first way to search is for content, and that's by pressing Control F. If there's a particular word that I'm looking for or a particular phrase that I'm looking for, and I press Control F, then it will pull up a little box in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. It'll say Find in Document. There's no quick access buttons for that, and it is not one of these menu items. It is just something you need to know for your Google life. Pretty much anything that opens in your Chrome browser, you press Control F, and that means it is going to search for you. You can search websites, you can search PDFs, anything, Control F. Now, the second thing you might want to find or search for is an option for how to do something or for some help. And in that case, you would click on the word help. It's in the top menu options. And then you can search the menus. So for example, if I forgot where to insert a picture or how to insert a link, if I press help and click link, it will show me where that is or pull up that menu. Similarly, if I need help or training with docs, if I want to look up a topic, I can also find those options there. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to stay right here where the pictures are, and I'm going to press Control F, and I'm going to look for the word hummingbird. And look, it's already finding it for me. As soon as I typed in the word H, it went to the first, went HU, and it went straight to hummingbird. If I type in sloth, it jumps right, and it's going to show me where those words are. It's going to highlight it. So that's really useful. If I am looking for help on how to insert images or how to cut and paste, say I forgot how to copy something, how to copy and paste. I'm going to put in copy. Okay, make a copy, copy formatting. Well, it says Control Alt C. I know it's Control C, so that will help me. What about image? I want to insert an image. So here are the different options. I'm going to insert my image. What if I want to insert a link? If I type in link, I don't have to remember where it is. It will just allow me to have that option. I can just click insert link, done. And again, docs help, training, and updates. If I click docs help, it's going to pull up, all the basic topics that come up, and you can also search for something specific. So say you wanted to really dig into what are page breaks. I can type in page breaks, and then the articles will come up, and I can click on it right there and read all about it. So it's a really beautiful, self-contained platform for word processing. And that is it in terms of the slide deck and all of the topics. Before we jump into, oh, wow, I did go over breakout. Yeah, I went over by 15 minutes, but is there anything really quickly that I should cover before breakout groups? Nope.
I think we're okay.
Huh?
I think we're okay.
We're all right? Okay, super.